bishop d3 move, if rook moves somewhere to d1, black will go rook c6, and white does not have any more knight b5 move because bishop controls b5 square. So the move to play after bishop d3, rook f2 c1. This is also very interesting piece sacrifice by white, and I think white has upper hand in that position. Rook to c6, and now white's queen is trapped. So white plays knight takes d5, and black must take the knight, since they cannot take queen after rook c7, knight takes c7, white simply wins. So black must take the knight, and now white plays rook takes c6, pawn takes c6, and let's see, what do we have here? We only have 2 pawns for the piece. That's not enough, but we have knight e5 move, which attacks the knight on d7, pawn on c6. Black is forced to capture knight, knight takes e5. Now queen takes e5 check, and black has 2 choices, king d7 and bishop e7. The best move is bishop e7 to give up a 3rd pawn on g7. So let's see what happens after king d7. After king d7, white simply plays queen c7 check, and after king e8, now white does not want to repeat position by playing queen e5. They simply play rook c1, and black is in a very, very bad shape here, because white is threatening to take 3rd pawn, king cannot castle, and very difficult for black to conclude development. We don't want to go into details. I did myself, and we cannot analyze every variation here. Either take my word for it or check it yourself. So this is the way to play against Slav. Let's go back again, and black has an option. That if black plays bishop f5 in the symmetrical position, d4, d5, c4, c6, c takes d, c takes d, knight c3, knight c6, knight f3, knight f6. Remember, those knights can be developed in any order. It doesn't make difference. Bishop f4, and we just covered bishop f5 move. But on bishop f5, that's what you do. e3, e6, bishop b5, and then you will be arriving to that position. If somehow black decides to play a6, you simply take knight on c6, then castle, and black has some pawn weaknesses. And weak square on c5, knight a4, rook c1, white has some advantage here. So the move we want to analyze here is not the bishop f5, but lately more popular move, which is a6. After a6, what I would recommend, there are 2 ways. You can either simply play e3, bishop g4, bishop e2, and just continue development, put the rook on c1, and it's just a very easy game, or become a little more ambitious. Try to prevent development of this bishop on g4, play knight e5, and now black has problems developing bishop on c8. They can go bishop d7 or queen b6. Now there is some theory here, and if you are not satisfied with a simple e3 move, then play knight e5, and again you have to go for help to one of the opening publications. We cannot cover this because it's far too much to spend on Slav defense, and we have to move on. Let's go back now. This will complete our coverage of a Slav defense. Now, when you go d4, d5, and c4, another big opening, I mean the popular opening for black, is Queen's Gambit accepted. What would I recommend to play on Queen's Gambit accepted? After d takes c, I would recommend to go knight f3, knight f6, and the simplest variation e3. Now, black here has two choices. They have two different ways, two different plans. Years ago, very popular was variation with bishop g4, then e6, developing knight on d7 or c6 and bishop d6. This kind of development. And the other very popular way of developing is e6, c5, and a6. Let's look at both of them. This is something you have to have one clear plan on every one of these continuous. Well, after e3, suppose they go bishop g4. What do we play? We play simply bishop takes c4, e6. Now, white can win a pawn here by going queen b3, then bishop takes f3, g takes f, and knight d7. But I don't recommend winning this pawn because black has substantial compensation for it. So what I would recommend to do after e3, bishop g4, bishop takes c4, e6, is to play h3, bishop h5. Now, this is modern theory. We castle bishop d6, and now we break the pin by playing very natural move, bishop e2, castles. And now I would like to develop my knight on d2, and black plays knight c6 or knight d7, mostly knight c6, with the idea of playing e5. Now, knight d7 may be played as well, with the same idea of e5. Now we go b3, and e5 is very bad in this position because black is not ready yet. e5 is nearly losing move. The reason why we just take on e5, and after knight takes e5, we play knight takes. Actually, we take on e5 right away with the knight. Knight takes e5. And if black plays bishop takes e2, we play knight takes c6 first, and we simply win material here. So black has to play in this position. They have to first move the queen. They cannot move queen on e7, because on queen e7 we go bishop b2, and after e5 the same problem. Knight takes e5, and on bishop takes e2, knight takes c6, and black's queen is on pre, and white wins a pawn. So the correct move in that position is, queen to e8. Here is the position. Here is the position. And not queen e7, but queen to e8. Now, black is ready to play e5. Now, notice that before this position arrives, this is inaccurate way to play for black. What black should have done in this position, let's go back. The most accurate move order. Now, why, if they do it the way we just mentioned, black can find themselves in a big trouble. I just outlined the black's plan: d4, d5, c4, dc, knight f3, knight f6, e3, bishop g4, we take, e6, we castle, bishop d6, h3, bishop h5, and bishop e2. Now, black castles, white goes knight d2. Knight c6 is a good plan with e5, but